Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I'm going to talk about some fall reads that you need to read this autumn. So we all know I love seasonal reads. I do these for every season because, like again, I said I'm a very seasonal person, and fall is my favorite time to do them because I love fall. Autumn is my favorite season. I named my daughter Autumn because of my love for autumn. So it's no surprise I have a lot of books to talk about. So I split these books into two categories and I'll leave the timestamps down below. The first category we have are cozy, heartwarming, just very fallish inspired books. The last category is that kind of darker atmospheric books that are not like crazy spooky, but just kind of perfect to read in the months of fall. You get the atmospheric vibes, kind of Halloweenish, those type of things. So we have those two categories and we have a lot of books. So let's get right into it. The first book that I talk about every single fall video, and I will continue to do so because I think is the quintessential fall read. It's by Rainbow Rowell and illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. This is like my favorite fall book. I love it. It's a YA graphic novel about two characters that work in this pumpkin patch, and it is like the quintessential best pumpkin patch in the entire world. They have a s'more stand, they have chili fry stand, they have a petting zoo, they have a huge corn maze and hay rides, and basically it's about their last night working, and it's just so heartwarming, so amazing. They have this thing in there called a pumpkin bomb where it's like a piece of pumpkin pie surrounded by vanilla ice cream. I haven't made it yet, but I really want to try it because it sounds amazing. But every year I talk about this book because if you just want a lighthearted, fun, amazing fallish book, look no further than this one. Highly recommend it. We'll always talk about it. That I've read recently that is perfect to read in fall is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Madonna. I love this book. I was not expecting to love it. I went into it thinking it'll be cute, but I ended up like, it's probably going to be one of my favorite books of the year. I liked it that much. So this book follows a character named Micah, who is a witch, and you have to keep being a witch very, very secret. You can't converse with other witches. You can't really, it's got to all be hush hush. And she gets this opportunity to teach these three young witches that are sisters how to control their magic. And she's like, why are they living together? They shouldn't be living together because it's like a no-no and I shouldn't be teaching them. But she feels drawn to these girls. So she goes to this place called the Nowhere House and she starts teaching these girls all about magic and how to control their powers. And there she falls in love with the librarian, and it's just so heartwarming, so magical, perfect to read in fall. I always say if you loved the book The House by the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, this is very, very similar vibes to that, only this is like really fallish. Obviously it's about witches and heartwarming and about found family. I loved it. Highly, highly recommend. Speaking of witches, we have The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This is Gilmore Girls in a small witchy town, if you will. That's the best way I could describe it. So in this book, we've got a character named Vivian, who 9 years ago got her heart broken by her boyfriend Reese. He breaks up with her. She's like, man, forget him. I'm a witch, so I'm going to curse him. But she gets drunk first, and she knows that that's a big no-no, mixing alcohol and like spellcraft. But she does it anyway, only nothing comes to fruition with this curse. Until 9 years later, Reese comes back into town because he's part of the founding family of this town, and he has to reset the ley lines, like magic stuff. And as soon as he steps foot back in the town, he notices things are not going right for him. Like things just keep happening. It's the curse coming back. So we have a second chance romance set in a small town that's very fallish, like I said. It reminded me of Stars Hollow if Stars Hollow was full of secret witches. I liked it, I didn't love it, but it is the perfect time to read it this time of year. If you are a true fall lover, I think you should check them out. If not, you could probably skip it, but I enjoy them. And that is the, I don't know what to call this series, like the Bake Shop series, if you will. I bought this one years ago because the cover is literally me in a cover. It's called The Bake Shop of Pumpkin and Spice. It's 3 short stories comprised into one. And they have a sequel, which I just read recently, called The Cafe Between Pumpkin and Pie. They even have a first book that I need to read. But basically, they all take place in this small town called Moonbright, Maine, which is like known for Halloween. They have this famous bakery. They have this huge Halloween parade. And each story kind of centers around Halloween night and about single women finding their true love. And they're cute. Are they amazing stories? No. But if you just want some autumnal short stories that are full of fall, these are great for that. Like, they're cute, they're heartwarming, they're not overly amazing, but goodness me, did they get me into the fall spirit. We have The Simplicity of Cider by Amy Reichert, another recent read for me that I liked, I didn't love, but it's definitely very kind of fallish. This one is set on an apple orchard, and we follow a character named Santa whose family owns the apple orchard. She loves her orchard. She loves like mixing and making ciders with it, and basically one day her dad hires this single dad named Isaac, and him and his son come live there, and it's all about their journey of getting together and things like that. This book takes place like late August, early September, so it's not overly like fallish, but it's got the kind of fall vibes, especially with apple orchards. We all know apple orchards and like pumpkin patches are the big things in September and October, at least where I live in Virginia. Everyone who's anyone goes to like apple orchards and pumpkin patches, me included, but it's a cute one. It's more about like love and really the kind of science behind making cider. I had no clue, but I enjoyed it. I didn't overly love it, but again, if you just want kind of a fallish book mainly about apple orchards, this one is a great one to check out. And we have The City Baker's Guide to Country Living by Louise Miller. This is one that I read a long time ago, and in fact, I just got this from the library. I love the paperback version so much better. It's right here. It's very kind of, it's almost Christmassy, if you will, but it's kind of fallish too. Basically, we have this town called Guthrie, and we have Olivia, who's a pastry chef, and she gets a job at this really small place called the Sugar Maple Inn, and she moves in there and she starts to like try to make this famous apple pie, and it's just heartwarming. Again, it's not overly amazing. I just started reading another book by this author, other book in this kind of series, if you will, called The Late Bloomers Club, and this one takes place more in the summer. I thought it took place in autumn, but either way, both of her books kind of have that small town, just really cutesy vibes that I would recommend. And the last book I have in my cozy kind of category is Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. In this book, we follow a character named Evie who is in a marriage that is not really good. And in fact, when she is about to leave her husband, like for good, she's like, I'm done with this, I'm over it. She gets a visitor from a cop saying, hey, your husband was killed in a car accident, and she's like, oh crap. And everyone in the town feels really sorry for her. She feels like, you know, they feel bad for her, and she's like, oh, I had to put on this facade. I didn't really love my husband. We were in a loveless marriage for so long. And basically she lives in a small town, I want to say in Vermont, no, in Maine. And there she gets a roommate, this guy that was a famous baseball pitcher, and he's got the yips, meaning he can't really pitch anymore. There's no real reason behind it. It's all like mental, and they become friends and something more. Again, a very small town vibe. It's definitely set in the fall, where it's like fall in Maine. I would love to go there one day. That's like one of my things I really, really want to do. But again, super cute, super fallish, highly recommend. Moving on to my atmospheric reads, I have a few of those. First up is Angelica Frankenstein Meets Her Match by Sally Thorne. I just started this. This one takes place from the point of view of Angelica, Victor Frankenstein's sister. And you know, when Frankenstein is trying to make his monster, she is helping out. She's trying to make like the perfect man. It's a historical book. It's definitely set like kind of in the fall. It's got the Halloween vibes, obviously, because it's about Frankenstein, which is a book I have not yet read. Maybe I'll read one day. But either way, you know, it's definitely got that Halloween vibes, aka perfect to read in the fall. Much like A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is an adult like fantasy novel. If you like dark academia, this is a great book to check out, because dark academia just screams fall. You know, with the plaid, the kind of academia vibes, the kind of gothic-y nature of it. This one is very reminiscent of that to me. So in this book, we follow a character named Elle who goes to the school called the Scholomance, and it's like a magical school. And basically it follows her. She's like known to like be this kind of evil witch person, if you will, and there she gets involved with the guy named Orion, who's aka Harry Potter. He keeps saving everybody, and basically the school's just trying to kill him because there's monsters coming out every day. And it's a very info dumpy book, I'll say that. Like, it took me a while to get through. I tried reading the sequel recently, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm not in the mood for this right now. But if you just really are committed to like the dark academia kind of magical school vibes, this one is a great one. But I have another one that I just love, Sawkill Girls by Claire LeBrun. It's a YA book, and I originally went into this thing as about vampires because I thought this girl's a vampire, but it's not. It's about this small island called Sawkill Rock, I believe, and girls have gone missing for years and nobody really knows why. In this book, we follow 3 characters, and basically trying to figure out the investigation of why these girls gone missing. There's a lot of paranormal investigations going on with it, and it is creepy. It is a creepy book. I went into this not expecting a lot, but I loved it. It's one of my few favorite YA books that I still like really stand by today. I love it. I recommend it every fall because it is creepy, it's dark, it's atmospheric. It is great to read in the fall months. Much like Shea Ernshaw. I love Shea Ernshaw books. Like, she writes just atmospheric books that I adore. It's definitely not for everybody, but I love them. Her first book, The Wicked Deep, is my favorite so far by her. I love it. It's about these witches that were accused to being witches, like in the Salem witch trials a long time ago. They were like put out to sea to drown, and basically every Halloween in this small town, I forget what the town's called, Sparrow, I believe, there's a legacy that these 3 witches come back during like the week of Halloween and inhabit the bodies of local girls and kill boys to like be vengeful for their death. And like people come out to this town just to see that, and it's just creepy, it's atmospheric, it's witchy, it's a good time. I love it. It's a great YA book, always will recommend it. Much like Winterwood, this one is about like, it's kind of more wintry if you will, but it's got the witch vibe still, so I think that's why it's okay to recommend in this video for the fall reads. This one is about a character named Nora, who's also a witch, and she lives alone in the woods, and she's kind of known these woods are very witchy, and then she finds this guy in there one day, and he's really into her, so she takes him home, and then they maybe start falling in love, but something is off about him, and it's just, again, very witchy. She writes the best witchy books. I love them. And if you want a kind of dark academia book, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a series. I believe the 3rd book is coming out soon. I still need to read the 2nd one. But if you like Knives Out, this is a great book to read with that because it's just got that Knives Out appeal to it. So this book follows a character named Avery who is poor. She doesn't have a lot of money. She has a half-sister. Things are just not going well. And then she gets called in the principal's office one day and he's like, hey, you just inherited all of this money and this house from this old guy in Texas. And she's like, what? She doesn't know who it is. So she goes to this house and it's this guy, Hawthorne house, and he leaves her, only like he leaves her everything, but the stipulation is she has to live in the house for a year. And not only that, but his like 3 grandsons, his daughter, all are living there. And she's like, why did I get this money? I don't know this guy. I'm not related to him. So we kind of have this game of figuring out why she inherited all this, which she has no like ties to this guy. So it's very fun. It's got like the cat and mouse of, you know, just detectives and things like that. I really enjoy it. It's a fun YA book. And the last book I want to talk about, it's very atmospheric, is a recent read for me, and that is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. This is an adult fantasy kind of paranormal book. In this book, we follow this island, not this island. In this book, it takes place in this island called Scorsese, how do you say? Sorsha maybe. And it's an island where it's kind of mystical and magical. And we follow a character, I forget her name because I read it on ebook, but anyway, she's there and she's taking over her mom's like tea shop and tea readings and things like that because her family's kind of witchy. And then one day comes in August, and August is her best friend and her boyfriend that she loved, but it's been 14 years since he stepped foot on this island because he was accused of this murder that happened so long ago. And now he's back to bury his mother, and everyone in the town is really upset that he's there because he's dredging up some secrets and some things about that night of that murder that maybe he caused. And it's a very atmospheric book where it's really about the island and how kind of mystical it was. I did want kind of more witchy vibes from it, but it's such an atmospheric read. The island alone is very fallish. It's got great descriptions. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a book about like the deceitfulness of like small islands and like the clans that kind of hold us together. I really enjoyed it, and it's a perfect book to read in the fall. So there you have it, a list of fall books. Some cozy ones, some atmospheric ones. You got one for everybody. Oh, I love talking about fall books. Fall is my favorite season, as you can tell clearly. But I would love to know if there are any books that you read that are just fallish, that every year you're like, this book is the definition of fall. Please let me know down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.